I don't know what part of the world you're in, but if you're terrorized by wild boar like we are, well, then you know what these are. Nope, it's not a World War II movie set. No one was practicing with their hand grenades. This is wild boar damage. I don't know what they were finding in here, whether they were digging for some tubers or some grubs. We don't have any oak trees near here, so they weren't digging for acorns. Next up, I'm going to talk about some wild boar control. Well, I'm in the disaster zone. It's not quite a disaster. This is a hayfield, so it's more of a nuisance. But this would be a complete disaster if our wheat was just about to be harvested or our corn was just 1 or 2 days from being harvested. That's usually when the wild boar strike, at least for me. It's almost as if they know. I'm Nicholas Fevolo in the province of Siena in Italy, where wild boar are pretty much a crisis. So whether you are in Asia, Eurasia, Southern Europe, Hungary, Germany, the American South, the tropics, North Africa. I'm sorry if I didn't name your wild boar stricken area. I hope you can glean something here from just a few of the experiences that I've had. You may even be in an area where wild boar are pushing into and expanding their territory. This is a phenomenon in lots of areas. So this may be a new phenomenon for you as it was for me when I first moved here. I'm from New York City and we don't have wild boar there. We have wild stuff, just not wild boar. So the first method that I've used with success is the most ancient method. It's the most basic method, and I hope you're not insulted with its simplicity, and that's just your physical presence. It's just being there. It's the most ancient thing that a farmer does, is protect their crop, and that's just physically being there with your body. Now, wild boar can be aggressive. I don't have that experience. I think they stay far away from me, so you may want to stay in a tree stand or, stay in your truck or your car, whatever. But physically being there is one of the best deterrents. They know we're dangerous and they stay away generally. Sometimes you can get away with not being there every night because they're not really sure. I wouldn't chance that if your crop is really worth it. If your crop is, put it on a small scale. Say you're growing a heritage high value grain crop, something local, an heirloom or a heritage crop on a small scale. You might be able to wait until it's drying down. It's not really appealing to the wild boar until it's getting to be mature, so you might be able to get away with doing this for a week or two. You really kind of have to play it out. Unfortunately, sometimes you learn from the school of hard knocks. A second method, which is a little more modern, maybe a little less labor intensive, you're not putting your body on the line, is electric fence. And in Italy, the most common one that we use here is a 2-strand electric fence. The first strand's about 15 centimeters off the ground. Second is about 35, 40 centimeters off the ground, held on by isolators on a 14 millimeter rebar, steel rebar. You could get that rebar for pretty cheap. You go to any metal place, you order it, to the height that you want, and they'll cut it and just go through the field and you put your strands through like that. It's pretty easy. Doesn't always work. If you're not familiar with electric fence, it's not lethal, but it's a scare tactic. Hopefully the wild boar or the deer will come and, check it out, get zapped, get scared, run away, and not come back. That's best case. Worst case, the wild boar come running, first one crashes through, the rest come in, they do their thing. Other methods that I've used are these kind of scent-based deterrents. I bought a natural one, and because I'm a plant breeder, I work on a small scale, I can apply it directly on the plants. So there was one project I was working with, last year in particular, it was a good example. I was manually pollinating corn, so there were bags on the plants, and I was able to apply this essential oil-based product on the bags. So I think it's more of a masking issue than a deterrent. Like, they're not smelling the corn beneath that. That's not practical on a large scale. They're also using your human scents. I bet you could deduce what that means. Same thing. I wouldn't stake too much on that other than a minor deterrent for them. It's not sanitary, probably not even legal given regulations around the world on food crop growth. I wouldn't use it for food crops. Anyway, just putting it out there. Other methods are more expensive, and that's using sometimes sheep fence or type kind of livestock fence can be enough. You have to dig it down into the ground, as they will lift it right off the ground. They'll push the fence right up and go right underneath. Or they'll dig down a little bit and then push the fence and go down. The most effective control that I've seen is kind of construction grade rebar grids. These are rebars that are already welded together, and you sink them into the ground at about a height like this, because wild boar don't jump, deer do. Wild boar will be deterred by a fence about this deep, but they have to sink that down into the ground a fair amount so they can't dig beneath it. That's expensive and labor intensive. There are also lethal methods, which we can't use here in Italy. In the hunting season, if you're a licensed hunter, you can. Other than that, not supposed to take a wild boar. A lot of it occurs, but it's not legal. So leave the lethal methods to explain to someone else. But I do have to note, though, that there's something very problematic with poisoning, because one person's nuisance crop, nuisance pest, is another person's food source. So if you poison wild boar, you have to keep that in mind, that it is not a safe thing to do to the people in your area or the animals that will come and feed off that wild boar. So just kind of have to put that 2 cents in there. Hope you gleaned something useful from this, and I hope your wild boar go hungry in your area. Ciao.